Baruch Hu, Baruch Atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Hamuchulal b'fi amo, Meshubach u'mafu'ad l'shon chasidav v'avadav, bishvachot u'vizmichot, Megadelacha v'namlichecha malkenu, Yachid chei haolamim, Baruch Atah Adonai, Melech u'olam v'tishvachot. Psalm 145, which follows, is a very, very beautiful psalm and very popular. In an Orthodox synagogue, it's actually recited 3 times on a Saturday, once at this point in the service, once after the Torah reading, and again in the afternoon. It's an acrostic, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalit, and very cleverly, Siddur Lev Hagshas reproduces the acrostic in the English, A, B, C, D. If you just flip over the page for a moment, page 110, you'll notice that the letter N is missing in the acrostic. And that's because in the Hebrew, the letter Nun is missing. Nobody knows if that's deliberate or if there's just a verse that got lost somewhere, which I suspect is more likely. But it's quite long, so I like chanting it. I'm just going to chant half of it, and then we'll take over and read the rest. So back on page 108, from Psalm 145, Tehillah LeDavid. Aron mimcha Elohai hamelech, Baracha shimcha leolam va'ed. B'chol yom avarachecha, v'halala shimcha le'olam va'ed. Gadol Adonai u'olam ma'od, u'liftato ein hekeh. Dol Adon yeshaveh ma'asecha, v'oratecha yagidu. Hada kavod hodecha, v'divrei niflotecha asicha. Ve'ezuz noratecha yomeru, u'gdulatecha asaprena. Zecherabtu b'cha yaviu, v'sidkatecha yeranenu. Chanun v'rachum Adonai, erech apayim u'gadol chesed. Tov Adonai lakol, v'rachamav al kol ma'asav. Joyfully your works shall thank you,
and your faithful ones shall praise you.
Knowing how great is your majesty, let all humanity perceive your power,
and the glorious splendor of your redemption.
Mighty is your rule and everlasting.
Your reign endures in all generations.
O God, you support the falling,
and raise up all who are bowed down.
Pleading all look in hope to you,
and you give them their food in due season.
Quietly you open your hand,
and satisfy the needs of every living creature.
Righteous are you in all your ways,
and loving in all your deeds.
So near are you to all who call upon you.
To all who call upon you in truth.
The desire of those who revere you, you fulfill.
You hear their cry and help them.
Unceasingly our lips shall sing God's praise.
So may they always exalt God's holy name forever.
Please turn to page 135. 135, and please stand. Yishtabach Shimcha Lahad Malkeinu Ha'el HaMelech HaGadol VaHaKadosh B'Shamayim U'Ba'aretz Elachana Adonai Eloheinu V'Elohei Avotenu Shir U'Shavacha Hallel V'Zimra Barachot V'Hoda'ot Me'ata Ve'ad Olam Baruch Atah Adonai Hamocheh B'Shirei Zimra. Praise you, Eternal One, our God, Sovereign of the universe, Maker of light and Creator of darkness, Author of peace and Creator of all things. In your mercy you give light to the earth and all who live on it, and in your goodness you renew creation continually, day by day. How manifold are your works, O God! With wisdom have you made them all. The world is full of your creations. Your handiwork proclaims your praise. The radiant stars bear witness to your glory.
We praise you, O God, Creator of light.
Ahava Rabba Ahavtanu Adonai Eloheinu Chemla Gudala V'Terach Amalta Alim Avinu Malkeinu Ba'avor Avotenu Shebachtu B'cha V'Tulamden Chokei Chayim Kein Teponenu U'Tulamdenu V'Tein B'Libenu Lahavim Lahaskil Lishmoa Lilmod U'Lalamei Lishmo V'La'asot L'Chayem Et Kol Divrei Toratecha Ba'ahava V'Ha'erinenu V'Toratecha V'Nadek Libenu V'Mitzvotecha Yechei Labavenu L'Ahava Li'ira Et Shemecha V'Anu V'Chata V'Rachedecha V'Ahava Baruch Atah Adonai Elohei Amo Yisrael Ahava. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. and beautiful and true. Sound, established and enduring are these words now and forever. True it is, Eternal One, that you are our sovereign God and Redeemer, as you were the God and Redeemer of our ancestors. You are our Maker, the rock of our salvation. We have known you always as our helper and our liberator. There is no God but you. Truly you are first, and you are last. We have no Redeemer but you. You redeemed us from Egypt and freed us from the house of bondage. Then, with great joy, Moses, Miriam, and all Israel together sung to you this song. חדשה שילחו גאולים לשמך על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו אדוני אלוהינו לעולם ועד, אדוני אלוהינו לעולם ועד. Son Israel, Eternal God, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elokei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanora, Eloheinu, Gomer Chasadim Tovim v'Konei Hakol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו יהרה. מלך עוזר ומושיע מגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, בחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מזריח השמש ומוריד הטל. וכפר חיים בחסד, וחיי מתים ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים רופא חולים, ומציל אסורים, וחיי אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממיט ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. נאמן אתה לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים. מקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמם, ככתוב על יד נביאך. קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, ברוך כל הארץ כבודו מלא עולם. ברוך כבוד אדוני למקומו. במקום המלכנו תופיע ותמלוך עלינו, כי מחכים אנחנו לה. ימלוך אדוני לעולם. Lanetza netzachim kedushatecha nakdish. Vashivcha ha Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh. Let's say together, you inspired our ancestors to hallow this day for your service. When upon its coming we pause to contemplate our life, we learn anew that we do not live by bread alone, but also by the spiritual nourishment we receive when we open ourselves to your influence. We thank you for the Sabbath day and for the opportunity it offers to enhance the quality of our lives. We thank you for its joy and for its peace. May our worship help us to take into our hearts its message of holiness and consecrate all our days by devotion to what is true, beautiful, and good. Satisfy us with your goodness, gladden us with your salvation, and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, eternal one, let the holiness of your Sabbath enter our hearts, and may all Israel, hallowed your name, be exalted by its peace. Praise, O God, for the holiness of the Sabbath. Eternal God, be gracious to your people Israel, and in your love accept their prayers. May our worship now and always be acceptable in your sight. We praise you, O God, and alone we worship and reverence. We give thanks that you, eternal one, are our God, as you were the God of our ancestors. You are the rock of our life, the power that shields us in every age. We thank and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your keeping, for the signs of your presence we encounter every day, and your wondrous gifts at all times, morning, noon, and night. We praise you, O God, source of goodness, to whom our thanks are due. Sim shalom tuva avalacha, chen v'chesed v'rachamin aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael amecha, barachenu avinu kolanu ka'achad ba'or panecha, v'or panecha natata lanu Adonai Eloheinu, Torah v'chayim, Ahavat v'chesed, tzedakah v'racha v'rachamim, v'chayim v'shalom, v'tov b'einecha lavarach et amcha Yisrael, et kol ha'amim, v'chol eit, v'chol sha'a b'shlomecha. Baruch atah Adonai, oseh ha'shalom. 222. On this Shabbat, when we read of God's appearance at Sinai, the revelation, the giving of the Ten Commandments, our theme on page 222 is the Jewish task. As it says in this week's reading, Ata tihyu li mamlechet kohanim v'goy kadosh, you shall be for me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. The words of Israel's charter, the divine authority for an enterprise which will bring blessing to humanity. For a kingdom of priests implies something more than a people leading a consecrated but self-contained life. It means a people whose holiness, travelling beyond the national confines, shall help to consecrate humanity. A priest presupposes a congregation and a kingdom of priests, a world to minister to. It is too small a task that you should be my servant only to raise up the tribes of Jacob and to restore the survivors of Israel.
I will make you a light to the nations, that my salvation may reach to the end of the world.
I, the Eternal One, have called you for righteousness' sake, and taken you by the hand.
I have formed you and destined you to be a covenant people, a light to the nations.
To open blind eyes, to bring captives out of prison.
From the dungeons those who sit in darkness.
You are my witnesses, says the Eternal One.
And my servants whom I have chosen.
Those that are left of Jacob and dispersed among many peoples
Shall be like dew from the Eternal One, like showers on the grass.
God exiled Israel among the nations, only that so that proselytes should add themselves to them.
Sages laid down a good principle. We should so conduct ourselves as to give others the cause to say, Blessed be the God of Jews.
It is a grave responsibility, this, to be a Jew, and you can't escape from it even if you choose to ignore it. Ethically or religiously, we Jews can be and do nothing light-heartedly. 10 bad Jews may help to damn us. 10 good Jews may help to save us. Which minyan will you join? And now we have a shtickle Yiddish. Seine Yid hist oivik, leuchten zu Gott, afilu as me ois an antläufer. To be a Jew means always to run to God, even when you want to flee. Means you are ready right now to hear, even if you are a skeptic, a blare of Messiah's horn. To be a Jew means you never escape from God, however much you may want to. Means you cannot stop your prayer, even when the prayers are done, even when the evens have been set. And let's read the meditation passage to ourselves. At the top of page 225, let's say together, Eternal God of Israel and all humanity, you have called us to your service and summoned us to bear witness to you among the peoples of the earth. Give us grace to fulfill our task with zeal tempered by wisdom and guided by regard for the faith of others. May our bearing towards our neighbours, our faithfulness in every sphere of duty, our passion for justice and our compassion for the suffering show the truth of our faith, that you are the source of all life and the fountain of all goodness. Torah, the reading of Torah, page 481. 481. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Gadlul Adonai iti, Ramama Shemo Yachdav. Those of us who were at the shiur earlier this morning enjoyed a very lively discussion about what precisely was going on when God came down onto Mount Sinai. There was Moses rushing around, going up the mountain, down again, up and down again. And then we have the thunder and the lightning. The sound of the shofar, which strangely got louder and louder. And then apparently, if you accept what the Midrashic accounts say, silence, as God spoke to all the people, men, women and children, the words of the Ten Commandments. So our reading this morning is the Ten Commandments. You can find it in the Chumash, beginning on page 457. 457. The first 5 are about the relationship between people and God, and the second 5 are about the relationship between us and each other. Were these commandments addressed to the whole world or just to the Israelites?
Whole world. Community of Israel. The Kehillah as well.
The Kehillah?
They are universal.
They are universal. So why doesn't everybody have Shabbat?
Yes.
You think that we all have Shabbat?
A rest of day. A day rest.
That's for day of rest.
A day of rest, yes, it's true, it has spread. A weekend is something we've given to the whole world. It's interesting that in the 2 versions of the Ten Commandments, in Exodus and Deuteronomy, there are separate reasons given for why we have Shabbat. Here in the book of Exodus it says, and you can see it on page 461 at the top there, for in 6 days God made heaven and the earth, and on the 7th day God rested. Now that's surely a reason that applies to everybody, as you said, the whole of humanity. We all rejoice in God's creation. And surely God didn't need a rest, but God rested to give people the idea that we need a rest. But when you turn on to the book of Deuteronomy, it gives a different reason. It says we must have Shabbat because God brought us out of Egypt. So that's a reason that applies only to the Israelite people. So it's actually both. God both speaking to the people of Israel and to the world. And we remember these two reasons every week when we do Kiddush. Because when we say the blessing on wine, it begins Borei, God the Creator of the world and of the fruit of the vine. And when we say the blessing on the bread, it's Hamotzi, the bringer out of grain from the earth, but also the one who brought out the people of Israel from the land of Egypt. So let's read the Ten Commandments. Now, some congregations actually have the custom to stand up while it's read. Is that something that you would like to do? No? You'd rather stay seated? Absolutely fine. Absolutely. Ya'amod likro b'Torah Avigdor Leib ben Meir.
ברכו את אדוני מבורך,
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
אדוני מבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בחר בנו עם כל העמים, ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. Ve'yarabeh Elohim et kol hadavarim ha'ele lemor. Then God spoke all these words, saying, Anochi Adonai Elohecha, asher chotzeticha me'eretz Mitzrayim mi'beit avadim. I am Adonai your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slaves. Lo yihye lacha Elohim acherim al panai, lo ta'aseh lacha feser v'chol tumana, asher b'shamayim ma'al, v'asher ba'aretz mitachat, v'asher b'mayim mitachat la'aretz, lo tishtachave lachem v'lo to'odem, ki anochi Adonai Elohecha elkana, okei davon avat al banim v'al shileshim v'al ribeim l'sonai, v'oseh chesed alafim nohavai, v'leshomrei mitzvotai. You shall have no other gods but me. You shall not make any image of anything which is in heavens above or in the earth beneath, or which is in the waters which are under the earth. You shall not bow down to them, nor shall you worship them. For I, Adonai, am the Lord and the eternal your God, and I am a zealous God, who visits the sins of the ancestors upon their children, even down to the 3rd and 4th generation of those who hate me, but showing loving kindness forever to the 1000th generation of those who love me and keep my commands. Lo tisa Hashem Adonai Elohecha lashav, ki lo yenakeh Adonai et asher yisa et shemo lashav. You shall not take the name of Adonai your God in vain, for Adonai will not hold guiltless the one who takes God's name in vain. Zachor et yom hashabbat lekadsho, sheshit yamim ta'avod va'asita kol malaktecha. Yom hashvi'i Shabbat l'Adonai Elohecha, lo ta'aseh chol malacha, Ata uvincha uvitecha, avdecha v'amatecha, uventecha v'gerecha asher b'sharecha, ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashemayim v'et haaretz et hayam v'et kol asher bam v'yanach v'yom hashvi'i al kein beirach Adonai et yom hashabat v'yekadshehu. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall work and do all your labor. The 7th day is a Sabbath to Adonai your God, and on it you shall do no work, neither you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your servant man or woman, nor your domestic animals, or the stranger who lives within your gates. For in 6 days Adonai made the heavens and the earth and the sea and everything that is in it, and God rested on the 7th day, and therefore Adonai blessed the Sabbath and declared it holy. Kabed et avicha et imecha, lema'an ya'arichun yamim al hadama, asher Adonai Elohecha noten lach. Honor your father and your mother, so that your days may be long on the land which Adonai your God is giving you. Lo titzach, do no murder. Lo tinaf, do not commit adultery. Lo tignov, do not steal. Lo ta'aneh v're'acha ei shakar, do not bear false witness against your neighbor. Lo tachmod beit re'echa, do not be jealous of your neighbor's house. Lo tachmod eshet re'echa, v'ado v'amato v'shoro v'chamoro, v'chol asher re'echa, do not be jealous of your neighbor's wife, nor your neighbor's servant man or woman, nor your neighbor's ox or donkey, or indeed anything that belongs to your neighbor.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם, ושם בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Baruch Shelatan Torah Le'amo Yisrael B'Kedushato.
The Haftarah this morning is the wonderful vision of Isaiah from chapter 6. It describes how God called Isaiah and he saw a vision of the seraphim, the angels praising God and saying, Kadosh, 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 holy, holy, holy is Adonai of hosts. The whole world is full of his glory. And then they took a coal, a hot coal, and touched Isaiah on his lips. And obviously this is a symbolic story to say this is how God is inspiring him. What he says from now on is, as it were, not literally the word of God like Torah, but inspired by God. The relation between the Torah reading and this will be very clear if you were here earlier for our study session. The appearance of God at Sinai with the thunder and the lightning, and now we have this other vision of the angels around God who praise God all the time, every day, morning till night.
The reading can be found in the JPS Tanakh on page 629 and the Sonsino Humash on page 464. We praise you, Eternal One, our God, Sovereign of the universe. You inspired faithful prophets and took pleasure in their words, they spoke in truth. We praise you, O God, for the gift of Torah, as servant Moses, your people Israel, and the prophets of truth and righteousness. In the year that King Uzziah died, I beheld my Lord seated on a high and lofty throne, and the skirts of his robe filled the temple. Seraphs stood in attendance on him. Each of them had 6 wings. With 2 he covered his face, with 2 he covered his legs, and with 2 he would fly. And one would call to the other, Holy, 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 the Lord of hosts, his presence fills all the earth. The doorposts would shake at the sound of the one who called, and the house kept filling with smoke. I cried, Woe is me, I'm lost, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among a people of unclean lips. Yet my own eyes have beheld the King, Lord of hosts. Then one of the seraphs flew over me with a live coal, which he had taken to the altar with a pair of tongs. He touched it to my lips and declared, Now that this has touched your lips, your guilt shall depart, and your sin be purged away. Then I heard the voice of my Lord saying, Whom shall I send? Whom will go for us? And I said, Here am I, send me. And he said, Go, say to that people, Hear indeed, but do not understand. See indeed, but do not grasp. Thou that people's mind, stop its ears and seal its eyes. Lest seeing with its eyes and hearing with its ears, it also grasp with its mind and repent and save itself. I asked, How long, my Lord? And he replied, Till towns lie waste without inhabitants, and houses without people, and the ground lies waste and desolate. But the Lord will banish the population, and desert its sites so many in the midst of the land. But while a 10th part yet remains in it, it shall repent. It shall be ravaged like the terebinth and the oak, of which stumps are left even when they are felled. Its stumps shall be a holy seed. We praise you, Eternal One, our God, Sovereign of the universe. You have been our source of strength and righteousness throughout the ages. The faithful God, whose word is deemed, whose every word is true and just. For the Torah, for the privilege of worship, for the prophets, and for this Sabbath day, which you, Eternal God, have given us for holiness and rest, honor and beauty. For all these we offer thanks. May all living come to praise your name forever. We praise you, O God, for the holiness of the Sabbath.
Four. Volunteers to read.
Eternal God, who within embraces the universe, we ask your blessing for our Sovereign Lady Queen Elizabeth and all the royal family, for those who govern our country and all who influence the quality of its national life. Make them conscious of their responsibility and teach them to exercise it in accordance with your will. May we all help to fashion in this country a society that excels in freedom, justice, tolerance and compassion, so that it may be a force for righteousness and peace in the life of humanity.
Amen. Eternal God, as you blessed our ancestors in generations past, bless now this congregation. its leaders and its members and all who enter this synagogue to meet, to study and to pray. Comfort the sorrowing hearts among us and heal those in anxiety or pain. May we all find here community and friendship, renewal of purpose and hope, a deeper understanding of our heritage and a sense of your abiding presence. Bless all congregations of the house of Israel throughout the world. Let those who live under oppressive rule soon be freed, and may we all unite to witness to your truth and do your will.
Eternal God, our rock and redeemer, grant blessing to the state of Israel, created to fulfill an age-old dream and to be a haven for the oppressed. Inspire its leaders and citizens with faithfulness to the aims of its founders, to develop the land for the benefit of all its inhabitants, and to implement the prophetic ideals of liberty and justice. May they live in harmony with one another and in peace with their neighbours, and cause to come true once more the ancient vision that out of Zion shall go forth to arise and the word of God from Jerusalem.
486. Hallelujah, Shem Adonai ki nizkav shemo levato. God's teaching is perfect,
Reviving your souls.
God's word is unfailing,
Making wise the simple.
God's precepts are right,
Delighting the mind.
God's commandments are clear,
Enlightening your eyes.
God's doctrine is pure,
Enduring forever.
God's guidance is true.
And altogether just. I was idly thinking the other day how many homes I have lived in my entire life. And actually it's not as many as I thought it was. If you discount university lodgings and a few months spent abroad, it's only 7. When I was born, my parents lived in Wembley Park, and then in the Preston Road area. Then I lived in Oxford for some years, St John's Wood, East Finchley, Manchester, Stockport and Mill Hill.
Very good.
If you were counting carefully, you will have noticed that's 8, not 7. That's because Manchester and Stockport, the same house. They moved the border of the borough. So we moved from Manchester to Stockport, but the home was the same. Most of us grow very attached to the homes we live in. We're there, after all, every day, and over the years we get to know every nook and cranny, every beauty and everything wrong with it as well. And then one day we move out and we probably never see it again, or even if we do, it's got someone else's stuff in it and it doesn't look the same at all. In life, it's not just the faces, but also the places which leave such a deep mark upon us, a deep imprint on our memory. Perhaps sometimes a memory buried quite deep until something comes along to remind us. An old photo, perhaps. A name. Or a story. Or even, especially for buildings, it might even be a distinctive smell. When people die, we have rituals and prayers and time to share our grief and memories. But when we move, we don't normally do that. We're probably too busy. And we don't bother to mourn the loss. But perhaps we should. It was in March 1954, when I was just 3 years old, and my family moved to Trevelyan Crescent in Kenton.
What number?
52. Well, number, I like that.
I got family at 12.
My mother remembered the street number of every home she had ever lived in. And 54 was, I believe, the same year that this community acquired its first building at 326 Preston Road, which was about 10 minutes walk away from where we lived. And I was probably 4 years old the following year that my parents sent me to the Robbins Nursery School. Now, I can't remember if it met actually in the synagogue, or it might have been in Preston Road in a house opposite, or it may even have moved while I was there, because I remember going to both. But I do remember that I didn't enjoy it. There was compulsory free milk, which I hated. And we had to drink it out of a bottle through a straw, which I hated even more. And one day, I took the straw out of the bottle and threw it to the floor in disgust. "Michael," said the teacher, "would you throw the straw on the floor at home?" Trying to be clever, I replied, "Miss, we don't drink milk out the bottle at home." Such memories. Back then, my family's spiritual home was the LJS in St John's Wood, where I went to classes. But as the time came nearer for my confirmation, my parents decided it would be much easier for me and my sister Rosemary to attend locally. In this community, what was then called Wembley Liberal Synagogue. And my group confirmation was therefore celebrated in Preston Road on Shabbat B'Midbar, the Saturday before Shavuot, the 21st of May 1966. I was given a book which I still have, A Year of Grace, an anthology chosen by Victor Gollancz. It has my name stamped in gold letters on the front. I bet you don't do that anymore.
On the photo.
The confirmation class teacher and the leader of the service was Fred Pomerantz. Ah.
The drummer.
Sorry?
He used to play the drums.
He used to play the drums. Interesting. I don't remember that. He was known to us as Reverend Pomerantz, but I think he was what we would now call a student rabbi. You see, you were between rabbis then. I think he must have been on an experience year in London from HUC. He was ordained in the USA in 1968, and he's now the Emeritus Rabbi of Temple Beth El of Northern Valley Closter in New Jersey. He filled in after Bernard Hooker, may his memory be for a blessing, left for Jamaica, and before Rabbi Albert Friedlander, may his memory be for a blessing, arrived. Incidentally, I later on had links with both those rabbis. I succeeded Bernard Hooker as rabbi of the North London Progressive Synagogue, and Albert was my tutor for 5 years at Leavitt College. But back then, 1966, I stood in front of this very ark, standing at this very reading desk, at the age of 15, celebrating my part in the confirmation service. And afterwards we had a family lunch at the Rest Hotel in Kenton. Now the Beefeater, I came right past it on my way here this morning. Much more recently, this very room was my classroom at Hamakom. And when I taught my last morning here, Rabbi Frank wanted to take a picture of me, and I insisted that he did so in here, in front of the ark. It seemed fitting. Why am I telling you all this? Because I know that soon Mosaic will be moving on and saying goodbye to this building. I was here for the lovely service which was held when you moved in, and I do hope you'll invite me back for your departure. As I've tried to explain, I think it's really important that when we move, be it a home or a school or a place of worship, that it be marked in some way. And in Jewish tradition, for a synagogue, we have an obvious way of doing that with appropriate prayers as the scrolls are carried out of the building. We should acknowledge that the places we leave behind, our dwelling places and our house of worship, are a deep repository for memories both good and bad, of thoughts that do often lie too deep for words. There's an interesting link between what I've been talking about and our Torah reading. At the time of the Mount Sinai story, the people were beginning their wanderings in the desert. They had no houses, no permanent homes. They lived in tents, or if you believed another part of the story, in sukkot, in temporary shelters. And yet in spite of that, the word house comes twice in the Ten Commandments. Once right at the beginning and once towards the end. A kind of frame. I am Adonai, your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slaves. And then, in number 10, do not be jealous of your neighbour's house. So although the people had no houses as such in the desert, they're being reminded that they came from miserable dwelling houses, the houses of slaves, and that they will live in nice houses in the future, nice enough to be jealous about. So important is it to have a fixed home that the wandering in the desert can only be temporary. Over the centuries, we've been a people on the move, from land to land, from country to country, leaving so many homes, so many people, so many memories behind. The very idea of a synagogue is based on that tent in the desert, built into the very essence, the whole nature of a synagogue is the idea that one day we will have to pack up and move on. My favourite book on Jewish spirituality is called The Journey Home by Rabbi Larry Hoffman, and he explains how the very notion of Jewish spirituality is built around this idea of a home, the Jewish content of where we live, and the synagogue as a larger home. Life, he says, is a home, and when one door closes, another one can open for us. It's not just the faces we meet, but the places we encounter, which leave their mark so deeply on our lives. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
They shall make me a tabernacle, and I shall dwell there. Are we going to say our prayer for healing, page 607? Eternal God, we thank you for the gift of life, and for the healing powers that you have implanted within your preachers. Are there any names you would like to mention as I look around the room? Please do so.
Yeah, Eddie Simon.
Eddie Simons.
Vivian Lackra.
Vivian.
Nikki and Mel Anthony and Lila Ward.
Nikki.
From our community, Jeanette Schindler.
Jeanette.
And Vivian Lackra. Oh,
And Cynthia York. Cynthia Green. Cynthia Green.
Sustain our loved ones through their time of illness. Grant them the courage and strength to endure pain and weakness. Teach us how best to help them by our love and care for them and by our own composure. May all who are ill know that you are with them, comforting them and reinforcing their will to get well. May their affliction soon be ended, and may they return in health to family and friends.
Amen.
May it be your will, eternal one, our God, the God of our ancestors, speedily to grant a perfect healing of body and mind to them and to all who are sick. Baruch atah Adonai,
Rofeh
ha'olam. And we're going to continue with Aleinu, which is on page 520. Is it 520? Yes, 520. Please stand. Aleinu l'shaber
Adon Hakol, Latei Kedulav Yosef Bereshit, Asher
Esam Halkeinu Yachei Shemon, V'Korakeinu L'Hamir Malchuto. Na'achnu Koreim U'Mishtacharim U'Modim Lifnei Melech Malchei Hamlakim HaKadosh 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 Baruch Hu.
She'unotei Shemayim v'yosir aretz v'shalach hara v'shamayim v'ma'al Shinatan zol v'gavheim v'nolim Hu Eloheinu ein od Emet Malkeinu efes olachol Kekatuv b'torato Yerata hayom v'hashavota el v'lecha Yeronai hu Elohim V'shamayim v'ma'al V'aretz mitachat ein od.
Trusting in you, eternal God, we seem to behold the glory of your might, when false gods will vanish from our hearts, and idolatry cease forever. Help us to perfect the world by bringing it under your unchallenged rule. When all will invoke your name, when you wish evil turn to earth. May all who dwell on earth come to know that to you every knee must bend and every tongue swear loyalty. Before you let them humble themselves, and to your glorious name let them give honour. Let all submit to your sovereign rule. May that time come soon and last forever. For ultimate sovereignty is yours, and to all eternity will reign in glory. As it is written, the Eternal One shall reign forever.
Life is finite, like a candle. It burns, it glows, it is radiant with warmth and beauty. Then it fades. Its substance is consumed, and it is no more. Yet we do not despair, for we know that we are more than a flickering flame. With our lives, we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and light, of death and life. We think at this time of those who died this week in years past. Michael Behrman, the father of Gino Greenglass. Cyril Conway, the husband of Irene Conway. Bernard Joseph, the husband of Louise Joseph. Philip Kaplan, the husband of Jacqueline Kaplan. Annie Krimgoltz, the mother of Phyllis Sanderson. Rodney Cooner, the brother of Diana Ayres. Ralph Morrison, the husband of Mildred Morrison. Bunty Phillips, the aunt of Lindsay Cohen. Evka Sharon, the aunt of Hannah Schlesinger. And Mark Travis, the father of Kenneth Travis. As we name our loved ones, we pray that the divine presence will comfort us and all who mourn.
Yikadal v'yikadash shemei rabba, v'yamad yivach yirtei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon, v'chayechon beit Yisrael, v'agalam v'zman kariv v'yru amen, yehei shemei rabba v'arak v'yalam v'ameh amoneh, yitvarach yishtabach v'yibahar v'tamah v'naseh, yitazah v'tameh v'tamah shemei v'shah v'liku, Le'elam mikol v'chata v'shirata, v'shvachata v'nechmata, v'amram v'amam v'imru amen. Yehei shalom Abraham v'shmaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom v'yomah, v'yaseh shalom, aleinu v'yakol Yisrael, v'yakol v'yadam v'imru amen.
First of all, I'd like to thank Reverend Michael for leading the service and thanking Alan for the connection. That was a lovely, really sort of uplifting, educational service. I always find when we talk about the Ten Commandments, it's an example on how we should behave. So I'm going to make a point. When I go home today and look at my neighbours' houses, I'm not going to be jealous of their oxes. Also, thanks for the musical accompaniment from Joseph and Christine. And Joseph sort of performed something incredible, playing with the baby in one hand and playing the piano with the other. So when you next take this, I think you next take the service, see whether you can manage that for the tour as well.
Right.
Different kind of acts. Right. Future services. Right. This Friday, the 21st, Friday night service has been hosted by Daniel Brown. I think under the circumstances, we really would appreciate a good turnout. The last time we did it, Karen was there, and I just think, I never normally sort of try because people got choices whether they can attend services or not, but I think this will be quite a poignant one. So hopefully we'll get a reasonable attendance. And next Shabbat we've got Rabbi Leah Jordan, who will be taking the service. She's never taken a service here before, so we seem to have a good variety. Each one, including yourself, gives a different kind of slant on how we do the services, so I'm sure we'll get something uplifting and different from Leah. And then, just moving on to cover the whole of the month, Friday, last Friday, it's actually a joint service downstairs with the Reform. And then the final Shabbat service this month will be Rabbi Gershon Sillins. So those of you who like music, or cantorial kind of service, he is, yeah. Rabbi, the cantor. So that will certainly be musically inspirational. Any more announced, Alan?
I would like to add that thank you for evoking the memories of this building. And
yes.
That glorious day in June in 2011 when we moved in, and the wonderful welcome we got here. And we must make a note to make sure we invite Michael to when we leave this building, and please God when we move into the new building in Stanmore.
Yes.
God and God of our ancestors, bless us with the threefold benediction of the Torah. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, may God bless you and keep you. Ya'eh Adonai panav elecha v'yikonecha, may God look kindly upon you and be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom, may God reach out to you in tenderness and give you, all of us and our world, the gift of peace.
Just to let you all know, they're probably about 8 to 10 minutes away from finishing downstairs. So don't rush, chat amongst yourselves.
Or you can join them for another,
Or you can, yes,
another donor long.
At least in one more.
No, I do think about it.
They heard about it before. They didn't. So they didn't. They saw the ball dancing that bad.
Yes, I didn't know it's going outside today, but because probably went to my mum.
Yeah, another fixture. Yeah, to fit in. You'll be going. We won't be having any meetings. Yeah, maybe if we put in the FA Trophy, it could be
That's probably hard. Yeah, exactly. long as achievable, good quality of life is
We slid down. We were in 5th place and we ended up 9th.
It was quite close though.
But it was a better quiz than the one we went to. Oh, it was the one we did here. It was far too young for us.
Oh, right,
I mean, once you're in your 70s, you know what goes on for 40 years. Never mind.
Yeah, because I'm on half term for the conference. I've been with my mum on Wednesday care, so 3 o'clock. Oh, right, that's quite high. Oh, that's great. I like golf. And the other one, my friend was the same. Oh, yeah. So, it wasn't
You might have heard me do it before.
But it's a bad day. Monday. Yeah, if you, I don't know how technical you are. It's like 7:30, I do London, 7:30 to 8, the program. You've got a month to watch it from when well, it was the whole season was good, the whole course as well. Promoting. I've been told I've had quite bad told. You know when you see yourself, I've been told it was really good. I made some poignant. But they recorded an hour and a half in the house, and I was else on for a minute. But that's the way it goes. And there's some bits I like it saying, I really wanted them to include, they didn't, but they're good, they did. Scrupulous editing.
She's quite loud, yeah.
You look a lot better every time I see you.
Yeah, I don't know when she got
Because I'm sure he was only here for a year. He was.
Very interesting sermon.
It's nice to have the whole history of the community in there. I like that a lot.
So she's still these are the place ones. Well, we went to
Well, we had I didn't have time to tell you, we had a very funny episode recently with somebody knocked on our door and he told us he was born in our house. And he gave us a watercolour of it. Painted in 1962 by the lady across the road.
Wow, that's pretty that.
And he said, I don't want it, you can have it.
But you know, there's one thing that I learned, God should never go back to the house after coming back, because when it's somebody else's house, the atmosphere is different.
Yeah,
and you
what
have to
have you
remember
done?
it
What have
in
you
your
done to
head
my
and in your
kitchen?
heart.
I don't like the colour.
I didn't even have chocolate stones, but no, I thought it might be take it for granted. I go to him twice a week.
Your red ones, that's all. So you can see how
There's called Miriam Munchies in Sarah. It's nice. It's the kind of only nice. Are you
yeah, you are.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yes, I'm not really. I mean,
Yes, I'm afraid so.
you're very happy. Well, it's not getting very happy.
Someone who's always had lots of irons in the fire.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe he wanted to give more time to other things.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
This one I made as well.
The outcome I did was quite sort of Jewish renewally. It's a Quaker hymn that's been taken by various kind of Elohim and various renewal settings.
So we were talking about that. And one of the things that keeps me away is that basically, you know what's something else, no insult, it's tortured. You know, it is for me.
The style of kind of...
Yeah, but it's a tradition in Minhag HaMakom.
Well, but Minhag HaMakom is, right now, is like in flux.
Well, this is why I disagree with the sermon in a sense. That's another whole story.
I quite love the sermon.
Oh, I loved it, but the basis that you have to have a home is in the age of globalisation and refugees.
No, but he wasn't saying it in the sense of, he was talking about a home that is by definition somewhere you're going to leave. He was saying the essence of a shul is that it isn't going to be forever. So
very much in the shul, very much. But the home, I mean, you're talking people who are homes, so there's nothing wrong with it. But we need to be much more conscious of our kinship with refugees as Jews, as you know. Just a quick mention of that.
Okay, fine. I mean,
do me a favour, Joseph. The quick question I have.
Yeah.
You've got a lovely website. I've got a domain, and they're going to add 50% of the cost. And all I use it for is email.
Right.
You know, who hosts your domain? Are they reasonable?
Yeah. This is called Vision. VISN, I think they are.
Yeah.
.co.uk or sort of think .co.uk. I found it's a very small company. I found them very good.
And they could talk you through setting it up.
Yeah, I mean, I always communicate by email with them, but they're very, very quick. It's like one guy, it seems to be. He always
that sounds right to me.
he's done it.
Yeah.
I recommend it, yeah.
You couldn't drop me a note.
Yeah,
Or I'll remind you.
Yes, yes, I will.
Oh, there you go.
Yes, I will.